This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined by unbeaten middleweight Southern Area champion, Mr. Brad Pauls, the new key bomb. We are, the first day of post-lockdown. Brad, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very good. Slowly getting back to normal, aren't we? So I'm happy. Not that it affects us boxers too much. The pub's opening, obviously we stay clear of that. We're waiting for the gyms, but yeah, it's going well.
Oh, that's not what you just told me off camera. You told me that you just ran back from the pub.
Don't bait me out like that, Rob. Come on. My manager will watch this.
Shout out to Steve Goodwin.
Yes, Steve. Yes.
So, how are you? I'm going to observe all of the boring pleasantries that I have to do with everybody, which is ask you how your lockdown has been. So, how's it been?
Good and some bad. I think it's a weird concept for a fighter to continuously train with no fight day, no thought of any sport. Because normally you train for something, but at the minute you're just training just to keep health and fitness. But it's just getting the routine of it. But yeah, I haven't been completely 100% dedicated the whole time. I think it's impossible to do that. But overall, yes, been a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Like, yeah, shaved my head was a bit of a crazy one, but we're getting back to normal, so that's good.
Now, I spoke to Steve, your manager, quite a lot throughout lockdown, and he was kind of, in his own way, I mean, while we were having kind of Eddie and Frank talking about coming back in late June and July and early August, etc., Steve was kind of preaching caution. What was it like to have, what sort of things was Steve telling you throughout lockdown? Because obviously the small hall is very much a different situation, but what sort of advice was he giving you throughout lockdown?
He was like completely like realistic. I think he got it spot on. He was like, even from early on in March, he was like, there won't be boxing probably end of the year if you're really lucky, or March 2021. So he didn't give it like any of the fighters false hope. Oh, we'll stay in shape because this might happen. He said the only way you'll get a fight is if you get called up for a TV show, or there's a vaccine sorted really fast. And he's like been proven right. Like there won't be boxing till next year, and. Yeah, but he said stay in shape because you're meant to, because you're professional, but he said it's not looking like you'll fight anytime soon. So, yeah, he was honest.
I think what Steve said to me is that, I think one of the interviews that he said that he was telling his fighters to kind of look at things like an injury.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose that makes sense. But it's one thing that makes it a little bit better is that everyone's in the same boat. It's not like I can't fight and everyone else is cracking on with their career. I've got to sit and watch. Most people, unless you're Frank or Eddie's fighters, you're stuck in the same position. So you sort of just got to do what you can to make the return as easy as possible. So try not get too fat and, yeah, be ready.
Yeah, and I'm not going to name any names because they wouldn't forgive me, but that's not advice that everybody's been following throughout lockdown. I've had to break out the widescreen camera for a few fighters here and there.
It's tough, mate. Yeah.
So, with Steve, obviously being predominantly manages small hall fighters and obviously promotes small hall shows, something that we've obviously spoken about, and kind of the noise coming out of the small hall is that this is obviously going to be of a bigger detriment to small hall fighters. But I feel like some fans who will be watching and hearing that won't actually know why and won't understand why it's that much more difficult for the small hall to return. You've boxed on small halls, you know the process of selling tickets and trying to drum up interest. You're not originally from London, which is where a lot of your fights are. Tell people how difficult it's going to be and why it's going to be so difficult for the small hall to return.
Because you need the tickets to put the money in the pot. No tickets, no money in the pot, no fights. And you're lucky with TV, there's already some money in the pot, so you get a bit more freedom, but you completely rely on ticket sales. And sometimes you might not even make any money just to make the fight happen, to pay the ref, the judges. And it's really brutal the way it's set up, like how much you have to put in and how much you actually get. It's crazy. And most people think general public have no idea how it works. And it's quite harsh on the fighters or the work they do. But you do that with the hope to one day go on TV and make proper money. But And even after, I think, this lockdown, I don't know how it's going to be selling tickets again. Do you know what I mean? So say it's March next year and I go, right, I've got a fight, I have to sell 200 tickets. I don't know how, before I could sell tickets, but now, say a lot of my people who buy tickets, they might be older, they might be vulnerable, they might have asthma, they might not want to go to public places. So what's the knock-on effect to next year when I've got to sell tickets again? You don't know, do you? So yeah, it's going to be a long time before it's completely back to normal, I think, which is gutting.
Run people through the process of selling tickets. I mean, I speak to fighters who have to go through the process on fight week, and you're juggling things of like your weight, your tickets, obviously the fact that you're going to have a fight on the Saturday night, which is no small feat. Talk to people about that, those last few days, and the kind of the busyness of fight week for a small hall fighter.
Yeah, it's like been set up to be the hardest thing you could do, because any fighter who's watched this, who's made weight, knows they have a very short fuse. Everything's irritating you. It's one of the hardest things to do, right? And then the thought of the fight, that's just at the other side of your brain. You got to make weight first, which you're thinking about all the time. You have to hit a certain number of tickets. And just naturally, the way people are set up, which you can't hate them for, is they'll leave buying tickets at the last minute. I've had people call me on the morning of my fight, you got any tickets? I'm like, where was your... I announced it 12 weeks ago. You could have sorted it. But I don't think it will change. It's the way it is. But it is one of the most stressful things. There's like 2 missions before the fight. You've got to sell the tickets and make the weight. And they're all jumbled in on pretty much to the same week. So, yeah, it's quite tough. But luckily, my brother sells all my tickets in Cornwall. Like, my last fight, I didn't see one ticket. My brother just sells them all. So, out of sight, out of mind. But not everyone is lucky like that. So.
Yeah, that's quite nice. It's nice to have somebody to kind of to put that great stress on when you've got other things to think about. So that's handy.
Yeah, lucky.
One of the things that we've heard a lot about, obviously, we've got Frank Warren coming back next Friday, Eddie Hearn's fight camp at Matchroom Square Garden. A lot of the talk from promoters really has been that, you know, we want to do away with 50-50, or we've not do away with 50-50 fights, we want to do away with mismatches, and we want 50-50 fights, competitive fights. But obviously, they have to be domestic fights, so they have to be following the British Boxing Board of Control guidelines. We're no longer going to be flying in chaps from Eastern Europe on a few days' notice. In your position of where you are now, do you look at that and think, okay, this could be my opportunity?
Yeah, absolutely perfect for me. My last fight that I was meant to have against the guy from Preston could have been for the English. I obviously want to go the British title route. So it probably won't change that much of opponents for me. I didn't plan on fighting any journeyman anytime. I wanted the English and then step towards the British. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it's perfect. And if I did get the call up for the English or the British, I think it's perfect. Like, there's only so many they can pick from in the country in my weight. And I'm here, I'm training, I'm 14-0. I'd probably qualify for all these titles. So a little bit of luck and the right timing could be perfect for me. So, and I think as well, people watching, they like watching someone knock over a journeyman gets not enjoyable, is it? But watching 2 British lads fight for their life, for their future, it's got a bit more in it. So yeah, it's better.
Have you had any approaches to appear on any of those cards?
Nothing. 0. I spoke to Steve 2 days ago, and he was like, to be honest, a lot of them are looking for the easier touches on the 50-50s, you know what I mean? And he was like, I've had nothing from you because, not to my own trumpet, but if I've got a few stoppages, they're not going to want to take the risk. Which there'll be a fair bit of risk, and you said you've had no call-ups, nothing. So, waiting.
How does that make you feel? I mean, the reason why I'm kind of going down this route is myself, Carl Frampton, Eddie Hearn, Josh Taylor, we did a documentary about Kieran Smith, who is 16-0, unbeaten super lightweight, who can't get himself a fight. He's at the stage of his career where he's kind of just about there and ready to take those fights on TV, but he's not getting those opportunities. When you don't get those opportunities, I mean, now is, as you mentioned, it's probably the perfect time for somebody such as yourself to get a call for a competitive fight, all British fight on TV, and you're not getting it. What's that like for you to constantly kind of be banging your head against the wall, so to speak?
I think there's different ways you can look at it. One way is there's a little compliment in there saying you're too dangerous, which is one small side of it. And the other side is it feels a little bit unfair. Like, you do your apprenticeship, you come up and you have these like building up fights, and then the opportunities just don't present themselves. But when you do have these opportunities, on what terms? This is what Steve says. Like, I could have took fights on TV, but on what terms? I'll be in the away corner. I'll be up against it. I remember I got offered a fight on a Matchroom show, and it was what's his name? Anthony Sims Jr. Remember, do you know him?
Yeah.
It was against him, weight above me, and it was short notice. My manager was like, "What's the point of selling yourself short going against the odds?" Do you know what I mean? So he said, just keep winning, and then you'll get it when it's right for you. So you just gotta just keep winning, and then eventually, if you get the right titles, they're gonna have to give you the opportunity. But it's a long process, I think, and it's get people like KSI that box for 6 weeks. They were straight on the TV. I've been boxing 17 years, yeah. I've been on TV once, fuming.
It's an interesting point you made, and we'll come on to that. But when you're getting these opportunities to box on TV, and it's not necessarily the right deal for you, how important is it to have a Steve Goodwin in your corner? Because a lot of people in boxing, they serve one person, and that's themselves. Now, Steve, from my experience with him and from the experience I have with fighters who work with him, is not like that. How important is it to have somebody who says, look, I know it's on Sky Sports, I know it's on this pay-per-view show, I know you're going to get the chance to box for this belt, but it's not right for you. And you have to, more importantly, have to listen to that and kind of take that on board when you are desperate for the opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you've got to trust everything that Steve says, and you've got to understand he knows what he's talking about. You've got to look at other promoters, might be like, not think about your career, and they'll go, right, okay, Brad might get 10K, and they think, oh, I might make a couple, so I don't mind him going to get beaten up as long as I make my money. Where Steve isn't like that. He's not after your money as much. Do you know what I mean? So he's thinks about your career before any finance for himself. So yeah, and you hear some of the things promoters do to take money and trim the money off the top and all these things, and Steve's just not like that. So yeah, I'm lucky to have someone like Steve. He proper looks after his fight. He's a good man, so it's good.
You mentioned KSI there. Now, I'm asked about this a lot as somebody who works in the media. Obviously, I haven't, but our company has covered your KSI fights and your YouTube fights and stuff like that. We've seen fighters come out and kind of, I mean, from various different levels. Josh Taylor, I remember somebody being really outspoken about it as well. But again, when you're the small hall fighter, when you've gone through the rigmarole and the constant pain in the arse of selling tickets and making weight and fights sometimes costing you money, and then you see, you know, YouTube stars going and earning millions and millions for a 4-rounder. How does that feel?
It's I think there's two ways to look at it again, right? You can look at it like, oh, that's not fair. Like, how can they get this and I don't? Or you can look at it like, right, what are they doing that I'm not doing to get themselves that? So you think they've obviously just smashed the social media platform side, YouTube. You could look at it and take from it and be like, right, could I do the same? That would get me in their position. You could either sit there butt hurt about it, or you could try take away from it and do something similar what they're doing, which is work for them. So yeah, starting a YouTube channel, etc., being better on social media does massive things, especially in this day and age. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, but life's all about money, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and kind of the newfangled era of sport in general, but particularly kind of boxing, is it has become a lot more digital, and it has become a lot more about selling yourself and stuff like that. Is it something that you'd ever really seriously sat down and thought about before you saw these two YouTubers earning millions?
Yeah, like, I think it's one better way to sell tickets. Like, it still benefits small hall fighters, but it's nothing that you're really taught. Like, say for me, example, I turned professional, boxed for, I don't know, 12 years at the time, and no one tells you that you're not just a professional. You're marketing, you're a promoter, you're a social media expert. You got to learn how to promote yourself, and all these things you sort of try to learn as you go. And then as you may get a bit better, you understand like how they work. But yeah, and you see something like KSI and then people, and you think, well, what if I started up a YouTube channel and I managed to pull in loads of fans and revenue? Then would I give myself more an opportunity to get the shot on TV? So it's, yeah, you got to move with the times, I think, even if we're setting our ways a little bit. Like, yeah, it's a crazy world.
If you were, say, advising a fighter coming into the sport, and they are, you know, they're not Team GB, they didn't go to the Olympics, talented fighter, what advice would you give them for starting off at the small hall?
Networking is a good one. So just going around to speak to as many people, like personally, always helps. Old school, which works. Get all your social media up straight away. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everything. And research it. Like watch YouTube videos on how to be better on social media, what hashtags to use, all these silly things, because even though it sounds stupid, it works at the end of the day. That could be the difference between you getting one sponsorship and not getting a sponsorship. Like you see Ryan Garcia. He was good, obviously, and a good amateur, but he just smashed the social media side, and now he's got big endorsements, makes money, he has more time for training. And yeah, so you have to just accept you have to be good in that area as well as being a good boxer. So yeah, you got to take the whole job on board, not just the training. There's more to it.
I always have this conversation with people, let's say not even like casual fans, but people who are just casual sports fans, let alone casual boxing fans. And it's difficult to explain to them this kind of process, which is obviously why we're having this conversation now. But in no other sport would you kind of have to be popular to be good. You know, well, obviously there are varying kind of similarities, slight similarities in some things, but you know, if Manchester United want to play Brighton, Brighton will play them twice a season, regardless of how popular Brighton are.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's fair? Do you feel like you're on the wrong end of the stick?
I don't know, really. I think because it's an individual sport and just this, how it works with making money, you gotta, I don't know. I think it's, unless you do extra, then you won't get the extra stuff. So you've gotta be creative and do more than the other people to get the opportunities. But it's not necessary. It's a weird one. It's not necessarily the best boxer will do best in boxing. You might have a guy who's won all these titles as an amateur, but he has no charisma, no nothing, and doesn't know how to market. And he might miss a million opportunities because of that side of the sport. But it's a tricky one. I think you just have to be creative and do a bit extra. Yeah.
So where are we now? We are the start of July. Obviously today has been, well, this will probably go out tomorrow, but today has been the first easing of the lockdown, which means that 90% of 18 to 35-year-olds are going to be in the pub while we're doing this interview, but not us because we're very, very professional. But
Athletes.
Yeah, well, you're an athlete, mate. Not so much. There's a reason why I'm not on the camera. Where does this leave you now? Obviously, we're still waiting for gyms to open because apparently pubs with lots of drunk people are more important than gyms. Obviously, boxers are able to get out and about, but with things like sparring, where does this leave you now? Are you starting to build it up? Are you starting to put the feelers out there to get some sparring?
Yeah, we have. Depends. I've got a private gym to use, which all goes with all the rules of social distancing and stuff. It's really quiet. And I can go in there, hit the bag, use all the equipment. But I think most of us are just like everyone else, doing home workouts, runs. But you have to keep some level of fitness, like in case anything pops up. If Eddie goes, we've had a pull out in his garden, and we need someone in 6 weeks, you don't want to go, come out of the pub, I don't want to do it. You want to be, I'm ready. So I think it's made people a bit more creative with their training. This whole lockdown, like no gyms. I've been doing all sorts. I've got a sled. I've got a parachute to do sprinting in, got agility ladders, medicine balls, and then just had to keep thinking of different ways to train because you have to keep it interesting. So I think the training don't stop just in case you get a call. But yeah, got to do something. But yeah, I can't wait for gyms to open, mate. I'm dying to do some sparring. You know what I mean? Best bit.
I would give you some sparring, but I'm quite a bit heavier than you. So I don't want to hurt you in case an opportunity comes up, Raz.
Lose a stone, lose a stone. We could do a few rounds.
I still need to lose more than a stone. You mentioned Frank and Eddie's shows. Obviously, we were waiting, and we finally got the announcements over the last 2 or 3 weeks or so. What do you make of the standard of the shows? What do you make of the competitiveness, and will you be watching, really?
Yeah, definitely watching. Dying to watch a bit of boxing. It's a weird setup. I think some of the fights I'm absolutely buzzing about. Egerton Cheeseman, sparred Cheeseman, good, strong. Cash Wellborn, I sparred Cash. And yeah, he's class. And I think he'll smash it. And then I like the way it's back to back. Like it's week after week, isn't it? And it builds up to the main main event. I haven't seen all of the fights, but I get the idea that there obviously is no journeyman level type fights, is there? There's 50-50-ish type fights. But I think at the moment, people just take what they can get. Like, some of they've got options to watch something else. So Eddie could have put on anything, do you know what I mean? And people would watch it. He could have put on me versus you, and people would watch it, do you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm happy with it. Povetkin, Dillian White's good. It's not like, I wouldn't say it's pay-per-view personally, but it's better than nothing at the moment.
You mentioned not being pay-per-view for you personally. What makes a show pay-per-view for you? I mean, there's always a lot of conversation about what constitutes pay-per-view. Is it, we hear this stuff about a pay-per-view fighter. We hear this stuff about a pay-per-view show. Where do you stand on pay-per-view? What convinces you to part with your hard-earned money?
Yeah, I think when it's a unification, so it's the elite of the elite at the top. So it's the unifying all the belts. Or you see sometimes you'll have like a good header of a fight, but then the undercard is world titles like this that you'd normally get as a main event on another show. Do you know what I mean? So I think if you have like a few of these main event level fights all crammed in, 3 or 4, then I think that can sort of contribute to a pay-per-view level fight. But if it's just one good fight, they have to be the elite of the elite. So Fury, Joshua, something like that. Do you know what I mean? So
okay,
yeah.
Fair enough. Obviously, being a pay-per-view show on the I think it's the 22nd is White Povetkin. It's ambitious, isn't it? I mean, to do what, 4 fights, 5 fights in a garden, on pay-per-view, it is ambitious.
Yeah, you understand a little bit. They got to generate the money, haven't they, to put the bigger fight on. But that's quite close to me, Eddie's garden. So I'm just going to get some binoculars and go down, save myself 20 quid. I'll be in the bushes like that. Go on, White.
Okay, well, Brad, this has been really fun catching up. It's the first time me and you have done this. Let's not make it the last, and let's do it regularly. But it's been very interesting for me to hear. As I say, we're hearing more and more stuff recently about the return of boxing and kind of small hall boxing. We're hearing kind of murmurs about it, but it's been really good to get your insight as a small hall fighter. I do hope that you get an opportunity to go fight in the Matchroom Square Garden, and if not, I'll be joining you with my binoculars in the bushes.
Welcome, mate. Cheers. Appreciate it.
No problem, Brad. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. I'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks very much. See you later.
Cheers, Brad.